I greet you, ladies and gentlemen, as I present to you some important details about chapter 3, the research methodology chapter. In chapter 3, there are so many approaches that can be detailed by a student or a researcher. But what I want to zero in on, it's not the structure, as it were, of chapter 3, which is what I covered in an earlier video. But what I want to zero in on is some key research methodologies that assist students or researchers to gather data, especially when they are engaged in qualitative research. It's very imperative that we familiarize each other with the techniques of data collection and also data analysis as part of this research methodology course. So what I want to cover is just the preliminary issues to consider for those who are planning on undertaking field work or data collection. So when we are looking at data collection, ladies and gentlemen, it is a key aspect of qualitative research, as inaccurate data can impact the results of a study and ultimately invalidate the results of that study. So data collection is a process of gathering and measuring data or information pertaining to variables that one has selected. And this data gathering process is done in a systematic manner that enables one to answer certain specific research questions, to test the hypothesis, and to evaluate outcomes. So the purpose of data collection is to scientifically gather information in such a way that the gathered data is valid enough and reliable enough to answer stated research questions, to test the hypothesis, and to evaluate outcomes. So data collection methods for impact evaluation vary along a continuum. At one end of this continuum are quantitative methods. At the other end of the continuum are qualitative methods for data collection. So in collecting the data, the researcher must decide on the following issues. Number one, the researcher must decide on the type of data that they are going to gather. Number two, they must decide on the methods that they are going to deploy in order to gather the data, how the data will be collected. Number three, they must decide on the data gatherers, who will gather the data. Are they sufficiently trained or not? And then the researcher must also decide on when the data collection process will be done and how long it will take. The selection of the chosen data collection method or procedure must be based on the following criteria. Number one, it must be based on the articulated research problem or the main hypothesis of the study. Number two, the kind of data which is to be gathered and the method of data collection which has been chosen must be based on the research design that the student has chosen to deploy. And in research, there are basically three types of research design. There is the experiment, there is the survey, and there is the experiment, there is the when you are looking at the experimental design, it is a design which is mostly used by people who either undertake experiments under laboratory conditions or pseudo experiments where data which has already been gathered, like secondary data, statistics, they are tested, they are formulated into specific regression models or statistical models, and then tested for validity and efficacy. And then we have got the survey. The survey method is one of the most used methods in gathering data. And then lastly, we've got the case study research design. So the researcher must decide whether he or she will deploy one method to the exclusion of other methods, or the researcher will deploy a mixture of methods. The methods of data collection vary according to one, the degree of strength when we are looking at data. What's the magnitude or degree of the structure of the data? Number two, the extent to which the data can be quantified. What is called quantifiability. Number three, the degree of obtrusiveness, i.e. conspicuousness or unmistakableness. So the data must be conspicuous. It's not a must, but the degree to which the data or the research subjects are conspicuous, it determines the method of data collection to be deployed by the researcher. Number four, the degree of objectivity. So the researcher has to decide on whether the data that they are gathering is subjective or objective. This is a key issue when it comes to data collection. So just a brief on data collection methods. We have got observation methods, in-depth interviews, document review, and so on. And then when it comes to research instruments, tomorrow I'm going to do a video where I would be looking at instruments like the interview in detail. But today I just want to cover the basics of a research instrument and then zero in on the questionnaire. Now, when we are deciding on which research instrument to use, it's very imperative that our decision is informed by the literature, the extant literature. It is journal articles that tell us what kind of instruments are deployed for certain kinds of studies, the format of those research instruments, their style, and how they are used by the writers. Number two, it's very imperative that the researcher also read relevant books or textbooks so that they can see whether they really not need to modify the research instruments that were used by seasoned researchers in the past, or they just adopt what has been used by seasoned researchers. And then the third point is that it's very imperative for the upcoming researcher to interact with experienced researchers so that they may get assistance in developing the tools that they're going to use to gather data. At times, it may be very important for the research to actually combine tools or research instruments like the interview and the questionnaire. The interview may be deployed as part of a pilot or the piloting of the questionnaire so that it can be refined. Or the interview may be deployed as a follow-up to issues and points which were not clear during the gathering of data in the field using a questionnaire. There are guidelines for developing a research instrument. The first point or the first guideline is that the research instrument that one has selected must be suitable for each function. Number two, the research tool will only be effective only as it relates to each particular purpose. Number three, the instrument must be based on the theoretical framework selected for the study. So the conceptual and the theoretical framework are very critical in developing a research instrument. Number four, the research instrument must be valid. Number five, the content of the instrument must be appropriate and detailed enough to test the hypothesis, singular, or the hypothesis, plural, or answer the questions being studied. Number six, the instrument should be reliable. Number seven, the devised research tool should provide comparable data every time the subject uses the instrument. An instrument which is only valid during the festive season but is useless at other periods or gathers different data at other periods is an unreliable research instrument. Granted, the quality and the depth and the breadth of the data gathered can be influenced by idiosyncratic factors like holidays and the kind of incomes that people have at different time periods. But even though that is the case, those idiosyncratic factors, they must not filter into the kind of answers that one gets when they ask certain questions at different periods of time. The instrument should be reliable. That's number six. Number seven, the devised research tool or instrument should provide comparable data. This is the point that I just covered. Number eight, an instrument should include an item that directly answers questions on the hypothesis. Number nine, the research tool should be designed and constructed in a way that cheating is minimized. And then number 10, the instrument must be free of bias. It must be as objective as possible. And then leading questions are avoided. That's number 11 in an objective research instrument. Number 12, the instrument should not contain measures that function as hints for desired responses, and so on. And then when it comes to types of research instruments, we've got 1, the questionnaire, 2, a checklist, 3, distribution, 4, interview, 5, observation, 6, records, 7, experimental approach, and 8, the survey. Now, what is a questionnaire? A questionnaire is a document which contains a series of questions designed to elicit information, which is filled in by all participants in the sample who have been selected to participate in a particular study. This can be gathered either by oral interview or by written questionnaire. The questionnaire is one of the most popular or common type of research instruments used by students or researchers. There are many types of questionnaires, but basically we've got 2 types of questionnaires. The web-based questionnaires, which are responded to online. And then we've got the paper-based questionnaires, which are distributed physically. During these times of COVID, such a type of questionnaire is discouraged because of the issues to do with the COVID-19 pandemic and the spread of the coronavirus. What are the advantages of questionnaires? They are relatively simple methods of collecting data. Number two, when one is conducting research using a questionnaire, generally the time taken to gather a lot of data is very short. Number three, the questionnaire allows researchers to collect data from a widely scattered sample, unlike face-to-face observation or face-to-face interviews. And then the disadvantages of a questionnaire are, number one, responses to a question, they tend to lack depth because in most cases, one does not have the facility of asking follow-up questions so that the responses become richer or they are enriched. Number two, respondents usually have this tendency of just answering what they want to answer and of omitting all other questions because of time constraints or lack of technical know-how or just, this lethargy that some respondents sometimes have towards that some respondents may have towards the people who be gathering data. The length of the questionnaire is limited to the respondent's interest, but for those who are using standardized long questionnaires, the chance of some some subjects in a data gathering process not responding to the questionnaire, they become enhanced or increased. And data are limited to the information that is voluntarily supplied by the respondents. And some items may be misunderstood and answered wrongly. The sample is limited to those who are literate. If someone does not know how to read or write, they are normally excluded from the answering of the questionnaire. So tomorrow I'm going to do another video where I will be looking at the characteristics of a good questionnaire. And then we'll look at quite a number of issues. Thank you so much for joining in, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that you have benefited from this brief lecture on data collection instruments. Thank you so much. Have a good night.